You so-called sneakerheads are funny. Love to talk shit about whatever I put on my feet. Oh, he in general release. Oh, shoes I can get. Well, if so, do it then. Oh, I forgot. You clowns don't got extra money to put on things you claim you can get. Only can talk about it.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. 10 games in the NBA on Wednesday. Some injury news to update us on as well. Lots of big performances. Lots of interesting things for us to talk about. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
What a fantastic idea that is, Mick. Let's look at the first game. The Phoenix Suns, they got smacked by the Magic, 128-114. No Aaron Baines, no DeAndre Ayton. So Frank Kaminsky started. He was red hot in the first half and then did pretty much nothing in the second half. 23 points with 5 triples for Frank the Tank with 5 rebounds with 3 triples. There, look, okay as a stream guy while Baines is out. No value after that. Check Diallo also played well, 16-4 with 2 steals. I'd love for them to just give Diallo the Kaminsky minutes. That's not happening, unfortunately. And there's a real chance that in a week or so, Diallo is out of the rotation entirely. I tell you who's not out of the rotation, and that is Ty Jerome. He's fully in the rotation. He's available in 99% of leagues. In every 16-team league, I would add Ty Jerome. He had 7 assists, he had 2 steals, he had 5 points. And when Rubio misses time, he's going to push into 12-team league value, I believe. So Jerome is at least a 16-team, maybe even a 14-team league add. Cam Johnson, he hit his 4 threes. That's what he's good for. While ravishing Rick, only the 4 points. But he did have 9 assists, Rubio. That's helpful enough. And the shot just didn't go in, which, again, is something we say pretty often for Rubio. Booker struggled. 17 points on 16 shots, under 20 points for the third time in the last 4 games. This is a real buy low opportunity for Booker. He won't be held to this level all that often. So I do think we should be looking to buy low on him. Saric struggled. He's more of a 14-teamer than a 12-teamer long-term, while Oubre, the inconsistency shows out. Now, I did have him in my Sell High podcast I did earlier today. Hopefully you executed that before this game. 8 points in 23 minutes. He had foul trouble. He still brought the steals. There is an element of fluctuation in his numbers. Well, McCall Bridges, Tyler Johnson out of the rotation again. Bridges played 25, had 15 points. He's at least coming into, say, the 14-team league type area. And that's sort of, I think, where he can stay, at least for the short term. For the Magic, Aaron Gordon, that's 2 big ones in a row for Gordo. This shooting, of course, is unsustainable. 32 points on 87% shooting. He had 5 rebounds and 5 assists. He was looking to be maybe a not top 100 guy, and I still don't necessarily think he's going to get to that level. The last 2 games have been great. The ones before that had been terrible. This is really a case of high shooting that's unsustainable, but it is good to see him at least do it. The usage still only at 21%. Mo Bamba.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
11 rebounds, 4 blocks. He had been really bad lately. The 4 blocks are interesting here. He only played 18 minutes, but I think he might have played a little bit more had he not hurt his ankle early in the game, and that kept him on the bench for quite a bit of time. Again, if you need blocks, he has that value while Vucevic is out, but not long term. While Kem Birch, again, solid enough, but nothing spectacular. 7 and 9, more of a 14-team league guy. Probably a buy low happening here for Johnny Isaac. 7 points, the 2 steals and a blocker there, but the shooting is way off for him. Only played 28 minutes. He was a guy that highlighted at the start of the season, saying that he wasn't going to be able to keep up that level, but now it's flipping the other way where you can go and buy him low. Markel Fultz, 13, 4 and 5, another guy should not be on waiver wires. 51% available in Yahoo, needs to be rostered. While Fournier's strong run continued 21 points on 60% shooting. Good night from Terry Ross as well, 22 points with 3 threes. He isn't more than just a streaming option with his ability to knock in the triples. The next game up for us here, we're looking at the Golden State Warriors. They got smacked by the Charlotte Hornets. D'Angelo Russell was back. He was on a minutes restriction, played 25, but had 18, 2 and 2. He doesn't know how long the restriction will go for. We don't know how long it will go for, but that doesn't really matter. 18 points is fine in that limited time. The triangle, Eric Pascal, huge minutes again, 16 and 6, no peripherals. You do have to worry where those minutes, if they can sustain. He's going to get 30 a night pretty comfortably, but where is everything else going to come from? Not bad from him. While Alec Burks went to the bench, they started that stupid lineup with Glenn Robinson at the 2 again. Burks had 15, 4 and 4 with 2 steals, and that's good enough for 12-teamers. Of course, he shot 86%, which we know, if you know Alec Burks, he's not going to be able to continue that. So he's more of a 14-teamer. Draymond, 5, 3 and 6 with 3 steals, okay. While Cauley Stein, the block rate for him is really impressive, considering how shit it's been the last 3 years. 2 blocks here for him, 8 and 7 in 18 minutes. Hard to justify having him as a 12-team league guy outside of a block specialist. And I can't even believe I'm saying that for Cauley Stein. While the lubricant Kai Bowman, 25 minutes. That's going to keep going down while Russell's minutes go up. 7 and 4 for him. Not a 12-team league player. Looney, only 12 minutes here off the bench. I'd give it a week to see where we go. But if he's not even pushing past 20 minutes, then it is hard. Look, his upside's not that high where he's got to be an absolute must 100% hold type of a player. For the Hornets, Devonte Graham, Jesus. 33 points, 10 triples, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. Again, I did say in the offseason, I think he is their best point guard, or it's a chance he's their best point guard, but will they play him? I obviously made a mistake there because I didn't know they'd play him this much, but he has exceeded my expectations tenfold. Unbelievable stuff. Well, Rozier actually looked pretty solid as well. 25, 7 and 7 with 3 steals. Batum, only 3 points. He rivals Marc Gasol in his reluctance to shoot, but 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That has value. DeAndre Bembry-like. Miles Bridges played all right in the first half, and then we just didn't see him again. 10 points in 19 minutes. I'm holding. You can drop. I understand if you do that. While Paul Washington Jr., 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, had a 1-1, a lot of minutes. I don't think that he should be viewed as a must-hold player. Cody Zeller can be dropped as well, 18 minutes for both him and Bismack Biyombo. Hard to see them as must-roster 12-team league players. Are you the type of fan that knows basketball so well that you could choose any game and call it? Well, MyBookie is the place for you because they let you turn all of your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet. Between the football season, the NBA, and the start of the college basketball season, it's time to get off the sideline and in on the action with MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy who likes to bet a little to win a lot, try a parlay. For instance, if you like a couple of the big favorites this week, parlays are perfect because they let you bet multiple games together for a much bigger payout. So if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and go to mybookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win. Just use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA and that will give you the offer of MyBookie matching your deposit all the way up to $1,000. That means if you deposit $2,000, you get $1,000 in free money to play with. Use that promo code LOCKEDONNBA to activate that offer. Once again, the promo code LOCKEDONNBA to take advantage of MyBookie's generous sign-up offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, and you get paid. On to the next game of the day on Wednesday. We are looking at, which one was this one? Oh, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Detroit Pistons. It was an ass-kicking, not as much of an ass-kicking as the other Bucks game, so at least we got 28 minutes out of Antetokounmpo. 35 and 9 with 2 blocks as the Bucks cruise to a 127-103 victory. Middleton played 25 and had 17, 8 and 5, and his numbers continue to look strong despite the low minutes, while Brook Lopez returned after a 2-game absence. 3 blocks in 18 minutes, 5 points. It's hard to judge too much about this Bucks team, given the low minutes again, but Bledsoe 13, 6 and 6. DJ Wilson played pretty well. Dante DiVincenzo, just the 22 minutes. He's a 12-team drop if you still had him. Wes Matthews, only 17. He should be nowhere near 12 or 14-team leagues. We also got 16 minutes out of DJ Wilson. That's apparently how serious they were taking that game. 6 and 5 for DJ, who looked pretty good in the limited playing time, just spreading those minutes all around. Every player played at minimum 15 minutes in this game, and we had, how many guys we have play? We had 12 guys play. That is ridiculous. Sterling Brown, the only guy not to play. For the Pistons, Drummond was great for the second straight game. 23, 14 and 5, 2 steals and 3 blocks. And I'm worried that Blake Griffin's assists just aren't going to come back. Griffin had only 3 assists here, 16 and 10. His numbers are so well down. His shooting was off, 24% from the field. Griffin is still a buy low, but it's a very buy low. He is not going to be, I don't think, the same player that he was last year. Luke Kennard was a surprise scratch in this one with sore knees. I think the way they labelled it with patella tendinopathy or tendinitis, however they labelled it, is a little bit more scary than what the injury actually is. From my understanding, it's just a maintenance rest day with some sore knees. That enabled the Langston Galloway to step up and play 38 minutes. Now, we know what Galloway can do. He can get in and play big minutes and have big scoring nights. 20 points with 4 triples. Of course, nothing else, and it came on 70% shooting. He's just as likely to play 20 minutes and have 4 points next game, so don't get excited. While Sviatoslav Mikhailuk started in place of Kennard, 6 points with 2 triples. Again, these guys are going to go back to lower playing time once Kennard is back, likely the next game. The Shark, Bruce Brown.
Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do.
No points, missed all 6 of his shots, 3 rebounds, 2 assists and a steal. He should be nowhere near your 12s or your 14-team leagues, while Rose had 14, 2, and 5. And that's extra impressive because it is on a back-to-back. Yes, they didn't play huge amounts on the Tuesday, but it's still good to see him out there putting up those numbers on the back-to-back. It's the same as Griffin, just to see him actually out there on the back-to-back is encouraging. The Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, another blowout win here. The Celtics win 112-93. Jim Butler starting to exert his force offensively more. 37 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 67% shooting. No Goran Dragic. It looks like we're going to have Dragic. The report is maybe another couple of weeks for his groin, so that's something to watch. The Spur, Duncan Robinson, had 29 minutes. Shout out to the bloke who suggested that nickname. I don't remember who it was. I do like it. I don't remember who it was that suggested that nickname. If only I could find it. You know who you are. The Spur. For Dunk Robinson, it looks like he's going to stick in the rotation. He had 3 steals, 2 triples. That's good enough in your deeper formats as a stream guy. Of course, that's going to hurt all the rest of these guys. Justice Winslow, 10, 7, and 4 in 31 minutes. Does it get better when Dragic returns? Probably not. Tyler Hero, get his ass out of there. 20 minutes, 5 points, not a 12. Probably not a 14-team league guy, while Kendrick Nunn struggled his way to 26 minutes, 8, 2, and 4 on poor shooting. I don't believe he sticks as a 12-team league guy as we move forward. Olynyk's playing pretty well, 12, 4, and 2, apart from that random 6-minute game the other day. He's putting up okay numbers, a definite 14-team league guy and maybe a 12-teamer. Bam Adebayo struggled a little bit here, 8 and 9 in 38 minutes, but I think we can forgive him this one after playing so well all season. Kemba Walker, who'd been down a little bit, 28 points, 7 assists, 2 steals, 6 triples, 53% shooting. That is massive. Hopefully you bought him low at a discount. And with Marcus Smart out, Jaylen Brown stepped up, 31 and 4. Not much else, but the efficiency, the usage was way up, and Jason Tatum had 3 blocks to go with his 19 points. Good games from those 3 blokes. Danny Tice played 27 minutes, 8 and 9 with 3 blocks. He got the bulk of those center minutes. Enes Kanter played only 6, while Rob Williams, the Rock DJ, he had a block and 10 boards. That center spot is a mess. Tice is the most valuable, but is still probably just for 14 teamers. Kanter is still rostered in 48% of leagues, while Tice is rostered in 8. That is a huge discrepancy that should probably be the other way around, if anything. Brad Wanamaker had the 4 assists and 7 points. With Smart sidelined, he does have at least some short-term streaming value, but that's really about it for him. Let us move on now. The next game, the 5th game of the day, we had the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets win 130-118. Jarrett Allen continues to impress, much better than last season. 20 and 13, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Obviously the center in Brooklyn that you want. Much better than DeAndre Jordan, who struggled a little bit here, 4 and 9. Jordan is not a 12-team league guy. Allen is. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince was pretty big. 23, 6 and 4, 5 triples and 2 steals. Nice performance from him against a subpar defense. He's inconsistent, but he is a 12-teamer. Well, Garrett Temple, man, that's huge. 27 points, 6 triples, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He's playing well with Karis LeVert out. Now, his production isn't consistent enough to be a must-roster 12-teamer, but in 14 teams, sure. 12s, maybe you could even look at him. Well, Dinwiddie had 24, 6, and 5. Not his best night, but obviously still pretty good. Well, Joe Harris, who'd been playing exceptionally, as I detailed on the Sell High podcast, fell off a little bit. 13, 3, and 4 here. Not much else to talk about with the Nets. Let's talk about the Hawks. Cam Reddish, fantastic. Now, I've shit on this bloke all season because, let's be honest, he's been really, really bad. But he was good here. 25 points, 37 minutes, 4 triples, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block. Defensively, I thought he's been pretty strong all season. Offense has been the real struggle, and the shots went in, and the usage was pretty high. 17 shots is impressive for him. Do I believe that he's a 59% shooter? Of course I don't. So this is not something that's going to happen every night. He's not going to play 37 every night. DeAndre Hunter was out. Kevin Huerter was on a minutes limit. And all those things fed into a big night from Reddish. It's encouraging, but it's not something that we look at as a must-roster type 12-teamer or probably even 14-team scenario. Damo Jones, though, I think he's creeping into 12-team territory. 20 points, 28 minutes, a block, hit all 8 of his shots, 2 big games in a row. If you've got a Cody Zeller, if you've got one of those back-end centers at the end of your roster, Willie Cauley-Stein, I'd be okay with moving Jones in. He's putting up some strong numbers, while Alex Len looks to have taken the backup center job, 18 and 7 with 2 steals and a block, while Fernando really only getting the garbage time minutes here. Herder was back and he was shit, 0 points in 15 minutes, but it is his first game returning from injury. I still believe he's a 12-team league guy and I would have him. Let's just see how this all goes. Well, Jabari Parker, we've got 8 games left of Parker being a starter, 10-3. If you are in a comfortable position and you want to make a drop and Parker's the only guy that you can see for long-term value, I would consider it. He's been good. He's fallen off a bit lately and it's going to continue to fall off in those 8 games times when Johnny Collins returns from his PED suspension. All right, next game up on the deck for us to look at, the Indiana Pacers. They get the victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder, 107-100. Domantas Sabonis, a nice double-double, 17 and 13 with 2 steals, while Tony Warren Jr. had 24. That is just the stereotypical Warren line, 24 points, 4 rebounds, nothing else. That's just what he does. His value, I don't think, is going to stick at this level once Oladipo returns. Same with Jeremy Lamb, who had 13 and 3 with a 111. Brogdon, whose shooting had been excellent, was the opposite of that here, 31% from the field for 11, 4 and 6. While Miles Turner, when the blocks aren't there, it's a real struggle. 12 and 4 with no blocks. He needs to keep his blocks at the same level of last year to even really keep himself in the top 50 type discussion. Look, if you're buying low, hoping he gets back to top 30, I think you're going to be really, really disappointed with Miles Turner this season. Justin Holiday continues to play well, 12 and 5 with 2 threes, but really just a deeper league guy. What is going on with Steve Adams? I had him in my sell high situation. That is a really great performance. 20 and 9, 29 minutes, hit all 8 of his field goals, all 4 of his free throws. His percentages are sky high at the moment. He's getting assists, he's blocking shots. All of that stuff is coming good for at the moment. Now, the minutes are still low. I don't believe he's this good of a free throw shooter, but it's obviously encouraging if you can convince someone that he's a top 40 guy. And I saw someone debating the merits of Steven Adams as a top 40 guy rest of the season versus Donovan Mitchell, and they were talking about a trade. So that mentality can be out there. I would definitely look to move him. Nerlens Noel's providing enough value as a back-end guy, 2 steals and a block, while Gallinari, the Italian cock,
hands off my cock!
18 and 7 with 4 triples, while Schroeder had 18 points as well. He's a back-end 12-teamer. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's a buy-low player. The shots just aren't going in. 16 points in 19 minutes for Gilgeous-Alexander, while Chris Paul struggled. Only 4 points on 9 shots. At least he had the 10 assists, but he's fallen off a little bit over the recent games. Next game for us to look at, we've got the that's the wrong game. Apologies for that. All right, the next game, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls win 106-99. A huge game from my man Jonas Valanciunas. 32 and 13, 3 steals and a block. You would have heard me bang on about this guy. Give him 30 minutes and he's a top 40, 50 player, top 30 player even. We are seeing it at the moment. Now, how much of that is because Brandon Clark is out? How much of that is because Morant is out, so more usage goes? How much of that is because Valanciunas is fully healthy after that foot issue sidelined him all preseason? It could be a combination of those. He is obviously a must-roster guy. Can he stick as a top 50 guy? Well, if he plays 29 minutes a night, then yes, he obviously can. It is hard to see how they use him, though, considering how much they were limiting him at the start of the season. The interesting thing here, though, is De'Anthony Melton. Started the second half for Tyus Jones, 8 and 5, 7 assists and 3 steals. I'd add him in all 14-team leagues, and I would seriously consider it in 12 teams. That's 3 games in a row where he has outplayed Tyus Jones as the backup. I wouldn't be stunned to see him start next game. He is still a young prospect. It's only his second season. Showed a lot of flashes in Phoenix that I really like. This is very, very interesting from Melton, and I would look to grab him in 14s and even 12s. I would consider it. Triple J had some foul trouble, but 15 and 7, 2 blocks and 2 threes is not bad despite a poor shooting night. While Crowder bounced back with 15 and 6 and 3 triples. He is a solid enough 14-team league guy. As for Jones, 6 points, 3 assists. Upside is too low to even consider holding him in 12-teamers. He was worth an ad. And now you go and drop him. We'll see how it is. Melton's got that opportunity. And it seems like even the best case scenario here for Tyus is a minute split situation with him and Melton. So it is worrying. Dylan Brooks, his shitness came through here. 5 points on 2 of 11 shooting. We know his inconsistency is a problem. When he doesn't get the shooting numbers to fall, there's little else, although he did have 2 steals and a block here, which is pretty nice. He is more of a 14-teamer. He can be a 12-team league guy. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think consistency is going to struggle with him. While Grayson Allen was good, 12 and 7 in 25 minutes. I wouldn't get too hyped up on that, though. For the Bulls, Zach LaVine's hot shooting continued. He had 25 points in 34 minutes, 54% shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. I would try and sell him for a top 30 guy if you can. It's not going to be easy, but he is on a real hot streak. My man Wendell Carter was great, 16 and 13 with 4 blocks, while Satoransky, finally, Jim Boylan realizes he is the best point guard and needs to play these minutes. 33 minutes, 13, 6 and 8, 3 steals. Available in 39% of leagues. Make sure that's not yours. He is a must-roster guy everywhere. Markkanen also looked better, 15 and 5, and you also got 2 blocks. And 4 threes for Lowry. That's 2 strong games in a row. While Chris Dunn, he had his 4 assists in a start at small forward, 25 minutes. Really just a 14-team league guy. While Kobe White was dreadful, 3 points on 8 shots. Hard to roster him in 12-teamers at this stage. Next game, we take a look at the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Good comeback by the Mavs to get the win, 121-114. Towns had 26, 9 and 7, massive from him. While Covington, also great to see him back in action, 26 and 6 with 3 triples and with 6 triples and a steal. He'd been really struggling for chunks of the season. Still only played 28 minutes, but that's a good line. Well, Jarrett Culver, I think we've got to be looking at this as pretty interesting. 11, 8 and 6, 2 blocks, a steal, and hit both his free throws. I'd add him in all 14 teamers. I'd actually consider it in 12 teamers, although the percentages could be rough. We go 26 and 5 with 3 blocks. Horrible shooting night from the field, but 82 from the line on 11 attempts is not bad. While the Wolves made a change to their starting lineup, Trevion Graham was out, and I think this is done for Graham. I don't think that he'll be back even in the rotation when everyone gets healthy. Okogie started, played 27 and had 7 points with 7 rebounds. Jake Layman is still to return, and when Layman returns, he will take at least Graham's minutes, and he might start over Okogie. Trevion's done if you've got him in any league. Bates Diop, 8 points in 21 minutes, while Teague, 3 points and 6 assists.
My name is Jeff.
Missed all 5 of his shots. His field goal percentage is horrendous at the moment. I'm probably not dropping him in all 12-team leagues. He's at least a consider to drop in those spots, but this is just a really rough stretch in terms of the shooting numbers. For the Mavericks, Dwight Powell was unbelievably good. 25 minutes, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 9 of 9 from the field. We know we liked him at the start of the season, and then he had the hammy problem in preseason, which obviously limited him. Now, he's not going to be this good. He's not a 100% shooter because literally nobody is. And then he also left this game with an arm issue. Now, x-rays were negative, and they're calling it a contusion on his arm. So, looks like he's escaped serious damage there with that arm. Is he a 12-team league ad? He's had 2 good games out of the last 3. He's a soft ad, but not a super hard one because these games are clear outliers compared to what we've seen for the start of the year. Kristaps Porzingis played through the back-to-back, 19 and 6 with a block.
Porzingis.
That's good. Remember the fears he was going to miss 20 games this season due to rest? That obviously is not looking like it's going to happen. The Mavs are rolling. They need him. Great stuff. Doncic struggled a little bit, but still had 22, 7, and 6. The percentages is what really hurt him here. While Timmy Hardaway, 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 26 minutes. Whenever I say Tim Hardaway didn't have a good game, people really get upset about it. I don't know why they are so invested in Tim Hardaway. Can we admit that this wasn't a good game from Tim Hardaway? I don't think he's anything more than a 12-team streamer or a 14-team league guy. He just has too many struggles outside of scoring and too much inconsistency with his shot. Seth Curry fell back to earth a little bit, 8 and 4, while Jalen Brunson had 16 points in his 18 minutes. A strong performance from the burner here. The next game up, the Lakers, they put the smack down right onto the candy asses of the Utah Jazz. 121-96. Tone Davis played through his illness, 26 and 6 with 3 blocks. Massive game from Rondo. 32 minutes, a lot of garbage time in that, but 14, 8 and 12 with 2 steals. This is vintage Rondo. He's hitting his threes at an elevated level. Really, really strong shooting. He couldn't hit 2s in this game, but that is a strong performance. I think he's still just looking at as an assist streamer. This is a standout game. And it's going to make people rush to go and add him. But he is a 14-team league guy at the very worst. LeBron had 24 and 12.
LeBron James.
While the future MVP, Kyle Kuzma, played 31 minutes. That's encouraging. He had 4 steals and 2 blocks. That is a season's worth of defensive stats for Kuzma. He did not shoot well. 2 of 7 from the line. 4 of 11 from the field. Still not a 12-team league player. Nor is Dwight Howard. Nor is JaVale McGee. While KCP and Danny Green are also on the fringes of those 12-team formats. The Jazz continue to be really rough. There was no Mike Conley in this one, so we had Jingle and Joe Ingles start. We also had Jeff Green replace Royce O'Neal in the starting lineup. I wouldn't say that necessarily went all that well. 8 and 4 for Green in his 23 minutes. Ingles had 4, 2, and 5 in 28 minutes. Not a 12-team must roster. He's a stream option while Conley is out. Bogdanovic bounced back with 23 points, and Don Mitchell had 29, 4, and 5.
He's done. He's good.
Interestingly, with Conley out, Moutier played 10 minutes. He is wildly out of favour, less minutes than Exum. I wouldn't be stunned if Moutier is just completely out of the rotation soon. He has fallen off in a huge way. They need to shake something up, this Jazz team. Their defense is struggling. Their offense isn't good. There's too many floaters they can't hit. It's just a weird situation with this team. And yeah, I don't know what they do. It hasn't been good at all for Utah so far this season. All right, let's move on to the last game of the night. The Portland Trail Blazers hosted the Sacramento Kings. They get the win, 127-116. Another big game from Nemanja Bjelica. 17, 7 and 4, a steal, 2 blocks, 3 triples. He's doing it all. He's been a solid 12-team league guy. I don't know what's going to happen when Bagley returns. You would have to assume he goes back to a pretty small role. In fact, he was almost out of the rotation earlier in the season. Will they run any Bjelica and Bagley as the 4-5 and take Dedmon out of the rotation? I guess that's a possibility. He's providing these good numbers. I just don't see how long it lasts. Richaun Holmes, excellent again. 28 and 10 with a steal. Great efficiency. He is a must-roster player across all leagues, while Hield had 23, 7 and 7 and 2 steals. Big game from Hield. Inefficient, but big game, especially with Bogdanovic out. With Bogdanovic out, 35 minutes for Trevor Ariza. He had 11 and 6 with 2 blocks and 2 threes. Hopefully he doesn't cut into Bogdanovic's time when he's healthy, but for now, I think we leave this alone. Don't need to do anything with Ariza. As for Bogdanovic, it wasn't the hamstring, allegedly, that kept him out today. It was a knee contusion. I don't know why they just haven't sat him down. He's obviously banged up. While Corey Joseph, 11, 3 and 7. That's solid enough. The assists are strong for him. He's providing good enough value to be at least a streamer in that category. It's not going to last long term, but he is helping in that area. The pencil, Harrison Barnesy. 8, 4 and 3, a pretty bad night from him. He is a 12-team league guy, at least while these injuries are going on to Bagley and Bogdanovic and to Fox. On to the Blazers, McCollum had 4 blocks. He had 3 blocks in about the first couple of minutes and shot 64% from the field. A massive game. 33, 4 and 4 with 5 triples, while Lillard had 24, 4 and 10 and 2 steals. Big games from them. Melo also was pretty good. 20 points for Melo on 50% shooting. The rest of the box score is pretty empty. 5 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, and a block. He's absolutely a 14-team league guy. He can be a point streamer for 12s. I just wouldn't look at him as a must-roster guy. While Hassan Whiteside. I cannot believe we are living in a day and age where Hassan Whiteside got 7 assists. That feels like a season total for him, but weird things were happening. Kyle Kuzma was getting defensive numbers. Whiteside's getting assists. He had 22 and 16. He had 3 blocks. Now, we can question his effort on the court, and I do all the time, but he definitely puts up fantasy numbers. And I don't really think Yusuf Nurkic is coming back and really impacting that at any point this season. Whiteside is probably going to be a chance for a top 50 guy. He looks like his free throw issue is fixed this season. He's concentrating on that, which is always excellent. Rodney Hood's bad. 6 points in 34 minutes. He shouldn't even be near 14-team league rosters, really, at this point. He's just a stream option, and that is it for the points category. Let's have a look now at the injury news before we look at the Thursday DFS action. The Duck Luke Kennard had problems with his knees today. Again, it doesn't appear to be a long-term thing. It's more of a maintenance type situation, so nothing to really read into there. Zion, I mentioned this yesterday, but the official word came out that we aren't going to see him in that 6 to 8 week timetable, so we're looking at January for a return there. While the reports are out that Kyrie Irving's injury is more serious than what's being let on, we're looking at, we don't know this officially, but the reports are at least a couple more weeks, which does help to boost Spencer Dinwiddie's short-term value. Maybe it's months for Irving. We just don't know, but it is looking like it's a little bit more serious than initially feared. Then we had Dwight Powell suffer that arm injury today. It was listed as an arm contusion his day today, so luckily it doesn't appear to be anything serious as we move forward. Thursday has 4 games on. We're going to be looking at FanDuel pricing. Let's get stuck into talking about those. All right, let's have a look at these games now. The first one up, we're looking at FanDuel pricing today. The first one we look at is the Philadelphia 76ers and the Washington Wizards. Joshie Richardson is out for the Sixers. Joel Embiid did miss practice, but he is ready to play. Of course, Tom Bryant is out for the Wizards. The one we do have to check on there with Washington is flaming Mo Wagner, because if he is out, their center situation is dire. But Young Mahinmi has been upgraded to questionable. He hasn't played this season with an Achilles injury, so that could be entering into the mix. Now, if both of those blokes are out, then we really fire up the Rui Hachimuras. Davis Bertans gets big boosts as well. It helps everyone. Isaiah Thomas gets more minutes. A whole bunch of players get extra run. if a situation arises where Wagner isn't ready and he plays, he's not going to be able to go out there and play 30 minutes. So that still does help guys like Hachimura and Bertans get that little bit of a boost there. Of course, whoever's playing center, they're going to have to go up against Joel Embiid and Al Horford, and they're going to get absolutely roasted. So it's a great situation for those Philadelphia big men. At point guard, Benny Simmons is at 9,000. He gets to match up against Isaiah Thomas, and he's been giving us 45 a night, so I like him quite a bit. While Thomas at 52, recently been playing better, and it is helpful if Wagner is out. That does push more minutes into Thomas, more usage as well. And he should be able to get that $5,200 price tag going. Ish Smith, Hull Neto, hard to get excited there. I don't know if Furkan Korkmaz is going to start for Richardson. It was the painter Matisse Thybulle that started last game in place of him. And even if it is Korkmaz, I think we're going to get a bit of a minute split between Korkmaz, between Thybulle, and between Jim Ennis, making them really hard to use outside of GPP spots. Brad Beal's at 9,900. We like him for a mid-40s, close to 50 production most nights. While Geordie McRae at 4,000. At minimum salary, he'd be much better. 4,000, I'm not super enthused with that one. Speaking of the painter, Matisse Thybulle's at 3,700. Really like the upside value there. If he plays 25 minutes, he could get 2 steals and 2 blocks, and you're already well on your way to bringing back that value. So he's in play. Jimmy Ennis at 37. Less interested there, while Toby Harris at 76. He should be good for 35 points. A relatively safe floor player, while Troy Brown and Isaac Bonga, the 2 small forwards for the Wizards. That's going to be a no from me. Al Horford at power forward, 7,500. A great matchup for Horf. He's putting up really strong numbers. Love him quite a bit here. The blowout is a risk. While Hachimura at 58 obviously helps significantly by Wagner if he happens to be out. If Wagner plays, I'd probably end up fading off Hachimura, whose roster percentage will likely be really high, but otherwise he's in play, as is Davis Bertans at 6,000. He had 36 last game in 40 minutes. So that 6,000 price tag, it doesn't make him massively appealing, but if Wagner out, it does help Bertans quite a bit there in that spot. For your centers, Wagner's at 48. I have to love him if he plays. That is an absolute must roster, I believe, if he is ready to go. While Embiid at 10.7, he might only need 25 minutes of play to get that number against this Wizards team, whose defense is bad. Yeah, bad. That's the word. Let's look at the next one. The Nuggets and the Knicks, no spread out for this one. We don't know if Alfred Payton and Frank Ntilikina are playing. They're both listed as questionable. Of course, that throws so much of that point guard value out. What happens if Ntilikina and Payton both play? Where does Dennis Smith fit? Is he out of the rotation? If both of those guys are out, are we going to get 38 minutes of Smith, or are we going to get 25 minutes of Smith? Of course, because it's David Fizdale, we have no idea what's going to happen in that spot, making it quite tough to get a full read on it. Marcus Morris is probable. His kid stepped on his head, so that's why he missed the last couple. That probably means Kevin Knox is back out of the rotation again, because it's not like he's been good while he's been starting, but Morris comes back in a pretty decent opportunity for him. At point guard, the Blue Arrow, Jamal Murray, is all the way up at 7,900. I don't think that is a great price for him. Now, he has been putting up good numbers. The matchup is relatively solid, but I just think that is a little bit too high. I wouldn't want to use Payton or Ntilikina here. At shooting guard, Rowan Barrett Jr. is all the way down to 5,700, probably because he just dropped a 7-bomb on us last game, which is horrible, and is averaging under 25 over the last 5. But it is an interesting GPP look, while Gaz Harris at 48.
Nice, Gary!
Look, he had that one good game, and then everything else has been pretty mediocre, so it's hard to get any excitement going there. Similarly with Damo Dotson, Malik Beasley, or the Duke Wayne Ellington. At small forward, Marcus Morris at 6,400. I don't mind that for Morris. It probably is a little bit too highly priced, while Farton Will Barton, he's at 6,900.
Giggity.
Had been putting up some solid-ish numbers. I'm not sure he's quite at the $6,900 mark in terms of value, so probably not a super interesting option. Julius Randle at power forward, he is at 7,200. He's at least good for high 20s, low 30s, which is not bad at that price. Probably better options out there, but still a play. Grant and Gibson, no thank you. While Paul Millsap really got it back on track last game. He'd been really fading off. Maybe that was an illness that seemed to be going around. At 37 points last game for Millsap, I'm not massively into him here. Mitchie Robinson's at 5,800.
And Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
Obviously, that's interesting because he'll get 34 points last game, which is great value. There's no way you can trust Robinson. Maybe he draws a ton of fouls on Jokic. We just don't know at this point. He is a GPP option. While Jokic himself, Big Chungus at 8,900. Even though he's playing shit, he's still giving us 35 a night, but 35 a night is not good enough at 8,900. The matchup's pretty good against the Knicks. We know that. I find it hard to get fully invested in Jokic because he's not fully invested in himself at this point, and that makes him a tough play for your cash games. While Punch Bob's at 3,900 and Mason Plumlee, they're not going to move the needle for me too much. Next game up, the Rockets and the Raptors. The Raptors are 1.5 point favourites. The total 231. The second game back for Kyle Lowry. Hopefully he's not as rusty as game one. While Danny House is questionable. If he is out, then Benny McLemore will be the guy to step in and provide some value there. McLemore was playing all right last game until he had a laceration, but he did return for the final couple of seconds in that double overtime / asterisk game against the San Antonio Spurs. At point guard, Westbrook's at 9,200. He has historically done pretty well against Toronto, but his level is not where it has been in the past, so he's not a strong option here. While Lowry at 8,000, probably a little bit too high, I think, in his second game back. Rivers, no thank you. At shooting guard, Jim Harden, 12,200. We all know about the Reddit situation about strip clubs and Harden's performance. Apparently, Toronto is the place where he performs the best because the strip clubs are the worst quality. I'm not sure that that's actually accurate. Not having been to any, but from what I hear, the strip clubs in Toronto are of an above average level. But we'll see how this goes for Harden, who is absolutely putting up the monsters at the moment. 67 over his last 5, 12,200. Really, really hard to steer clear of him. While Van Vliet at 8,000. I think that's a little bit too much with Lowry back to get invested there. Terry Davis, Norm Powell, who was excellent last game, by the way, but at 5,700, I am not keen. While Benny McLemore at 37. If House is out, I really do like McLemore at that salary. Siakam, the old small forward, he's at $9,000. Only 29 points last game. Has not really been at the level we need him to be at. I do think a bounce back is coming based on absolutely nothing, but I think he is worth at least considering here as an option at that $9,000. A pretty interesting sort of situation there for him. While the Jedi, OG Anunoby.
Hello there.
I'm not all that keen on looking at him. Danny House at 5,500. House, the last game when he actually played, he put up some good numbers, but I don't think he's a super good DFS option. At power forward, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's a no from me, while Ibaka at 54 just feels a little bit too high, while Capella, 9,400. He is putting up the absolute big numbers. Marcus Sol has a history of slowing not only him down, but other centers as well. So this probably leads me to fade off him, especially at that significantly elevated price. While Markey himself...
Oh, hi, Mark.
Look, 5,500 for a guy that just refuses to shoot most games. I don't really think that is the optimal situation. The last game of the night, the only game involving a back-to-back, the Phoenix Suns travel to take on the Pelicans. They just got spanked by the Magic. Aaron Baines is questionable, while for New Orleans, Derek Favors and Kenrick Williams are both questionable. Of course, both of those absences change quite a bit. If Baines is out, then you got Frank the Tank Kaminsky and Czech Diallo who come into play. If Favors is out, Jackson Hayes is your option. If Kenrick Williams is out, you get more minutes for JJ Redick and Josh the Hitman Hart in those spots too. At point guard, Lonzo Ball is down to 5,800. Not playing all that well. I think there is some GPP upside in him at that low salary, while ravishing Rick Rubio at 75. I think we can do better spending our 7,500 than doing it on Rubio. At shooting guard, Drew Holiday's at 8,300. Really safe floor. Good cash guy, like him a lot, while Booker is struggling at 8,100. On a back-to-back, I'll leave him alone. And Josh the Hitman Hart at 4,700. I would only look at Hart if we hear that Williams is out, and even then I'm not super into it. Same with JJ Redick at 4,900. Ty Jerome playing pretty well, but not really a DFS option. Cam Johnson's at 37. No thank you. Brandon Ingram at 95. Now that is a shitload of money for Brandon Ingram, but he's playing like that's what he's worth. I'm not massively into him here. I think there is value in him, but I'm not looking at him as a must-roster guy, but still pretty good stuff. While Kenrick Williams, no thank you. Kelly Oubre is wildly inconsistent. He is a GPP guy. At power forward, Šarić at 6,100, too high for Dario in my opinion. Favors I wouldn't want to use, while the tank Frank Kaminsky at 36 points last game. At 4,800, absolutely he's an option as long as we hear that Bainesy is sidelined. I wouldn't want to use Baines at 6,200 even if he does play. And then you've got Jackson Hayes at 4,500 who becomes an option if Favors happens to be ruled out. Let's have a look now at some DraftKings plays on this slate. Randall, I like a lot. Robinson, Mitchie Robinson, Embiid, Horford, Marcus Morris, Siakam, Wagner, Van Vliet, Barrett, Harris, Toby Harris that is, Benny Simmons, Ingram, Beal, Holiday. Even the Blue Arrow at 6,700 on DraftKings comes in at a pretty good price tag. Guys, that'll do it for today's show. Don't forget, subscribe Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Everything about that helps the show, and give me a 5-star rating. That would be awesome over on Apple Podcasts, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Montrezl Harrell.